Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Summit 2 EU by G2A.com. I'm Zyori, joined again by Blaze. We've only got one game today, but hey, we're going to have some fun with it nonetheless. We've got Fnatic up against Moscow5, and unfortunately we got into this one a little bit late, as Fnatic was having some issues arise, unable to connect. Looks like his internet dropped out, so we have a stand-in. We've got Tucker here to fill in for his slot. I don't know Tucker, but we're going to get to know him. Blaze, how you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. Obviously, with the issues already with the matchup, it's hard to be fully on the hype train here, but I'm on board with the early draft, something different that we get to see here. I mean, Razor and Darkseer coming out, and banning out a lot of 6.81, a little bit of Terrorblade there. Still a very fearful hero to go up against for pretty much any team. I think all the scenes are coming around to considering him a first-tier ban or pick. But yeah, we're going to see some wombo combo here from Fnatic. Darkseer, Jakiro, might see an Enigma picked up. I think that would work really well with what they have going on. And in turn, I think Moscow5 would do well to look at a Silencer pickup. Against Darkseer, against Jakiro, you want a hero that can take the team fights when you need to, because otherwise they're going to be knocking at your front door very, very soon. But now, they're just going to start off with the Razor, the Ogre, and we'll see where that takes them.
Yeah, M5 doing things a little bit more standard. They've been all about that second pick Ogre, man. I feel like I've seen Moscow5 do that like for their past 5 games in the Summit and various other tournaments. But Darkseer first pick, that's just a little bit interesting. I think Darkseer is okay right now, not great, not terrible. Kind of a niche pick, I suppose you could say, but hard pressed to really say that he's first pick material. He's just not that highly sought after.
Yeah, I definitely think that he's a weird way to go about the draft, and it shows that they're not just looking at this. Like, I don't think this is the way Fnatic would draft against a top-tier lineup. They would still be looking for the big, I have to get this out of the pool, I'm really fearful of this. They would be looking to kind of go for denial pickups. But here, against Moscow5, they kind of feel it's a clean slate. They kind of say, we can play our own draft, we can try our own little pocket chart we might have scrimmed with once or twice. And Darkseer is a great pickup. If he goes for a Crimson Guard in particular, I have a lot of faith in what he can accomplish against Razor, because the low HP heroes you can always kite away with the Surge, and Crimson Guard is amazing against Eye of the Storm. So against a core Razor, who eventually is going to be looking at things like Aghanim's and Refresher, you really want a hero that can carry that. So we'll see if he builds up the mech, if he builds up the Crimson, and yeah, just how they kind of go building their team around this Darkseer.
Yeah, that's an interesting suggestion. The Crimson Guard on Darkseer. We've seen him so intermittently. That's one of those kind of new combinations with that item that I think you're right. It works well. We've even seen some Darkseers in the past just go for a Vanguard to tank up anyhow. So some pretty solid synergy there. I'm very curious. Also, how they'll lane him. Darkseer, obviously generally an off-laner, but we've seen some Darkseer mids here and there and various other bits of trickery. Also seen Darkseer spend some time in the jungle with that Midas first build. That's one of his big problems, I guess, is he just takes a while to come online, especially if he invests in a Midas. Sure, towards the late game, he can be a great anti-carry, bring a lot to the table, but it takes him some time to get there. Not one of those Centaur-like heroes who around that 10, 12-minute mark is going to have a Blink Dagger ready to run around, dropping bombs all over your carries.
Yeah, so we'll see where they want to go with this one. Like I mentioned, the Enigma is going to be really good for their laning phase, so I think that would be an astute pickup, but it would put a lot of eggs in one basket here. It gives them a lot of late game dominance, it gives them a lot of team fight potential, but there are counters. I mentioned the Silencer, that's probably the go-to pickup if they go for the Enigma here, but I think they probably should pick it up before the 5th pick. If it goes through and they are really showing this emphasis of push and kill and all this stuff, then really Moscow5 will be looking at banning that out in the final phase. But for now, Shadow Shaman's good because it leaves the ambiguity of whether or not Jakiro is going to be a core or a support. If it's going to be a safe lane core Jakiro supported by a Shadow Shaman, and then Darkseer is going to be the off lane, you still have room for the Enigma as well. You have a hell of a lot of push emphasis with the Liquid Fire and the Mass Serpent Wards.
Yeah, most definitely. And this could end up being one of these games where it's more of a core Jakiro coming out, so we can get that farm and get a little bit more
5 seconds
experience
remaining.
priority is really what's important. Get that liquid fire maxed out kind of as quickly as possible. Maybe be the one to grab the
Reserve
early
time.
mech and then open up some space for the Darkseer, who is generally regarded as a mech carrier. That could let him rush the Crimson Guard as we've talked about, or maybe move into a fast blink for some initiation. And Jakiro can kind of play that primary utility role. But
There it
there's
is.
the silencer you were talking about, Blaze. Good call.
Fnatic's
Channeling
turn
your
to
inner blow your brain here. I like it.
Definitely, man. This hero is so damn good against these kinds of lineups. So you do have to be very careful how you fight between the global silences, but it is only 130 seconds, although it's still worth Fnatic's APM to time it out and to know exactly when it's going to be online and when it's going to be offline. At the same time, it's still 130 seconds. It's something that you can kind of weather the storm, throw out a couple plasma fields and try to counter push that way, and then take
10
the fights
seconds
when that
remaining.
global's up. But Fnatic, knowing they can't go in solely
Radiant
into team
team
fight and push now, they have to go for carry. Silencer is going to prevent them just going exclusively for the Wombo combo, and they're going to back it up with a really good core hero. Now, PA is going to be frustrated a little bit before she gets her BKB. A lot of these heroes will cause her some grief, and if Razor can get a good link on her, that crit won't mean very much. But even still, with tower momentum being in Fnatic's favor so far in the draft, that means that PA is going to get some good early gold, and
10
that should
seconds
enable her
remaining.
to be very active early on.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen these kind of
5
hybrid
seconds
strats work
remaining.
pretty well to get the momentum rolling on her, and those kind of games where she'll go for some early aggression so she can
Reserve
be
time.
involved in the fights, maybe just get your drums to go with your phase boots, maybe even a Helm of the Dominator, a Keela, just those good value items in that early to mid game, and then transition into maybe a Battle Fury, get one of those farming tools up, and if need be, look towards the late game, or just go right into the BKB and look to close it out sooner rather than later, depending on how the momentum is looking.
Now, I have to mention here, although Arise isn't playing for Fnatic right here with the standing on Tucker, I still think a Magnus would be a really good pickup here. Like, you get the Empower on the PA, so she's cleaving away. You get the clumping mechanism of the vacuum. You get them all inside the wall, all inside the Macropyre, and you can keep them there with the reverse polarity. I mean, hell, even the Shadow Shaman's Mass Serpent Wards have a cleave effect. So they do splash damage. You get everybody clumped up. You do some crazy, crazy stuff. But we'll see what Fnatic want to go for their finalization hero. I mean, Core Jakiro, they could still run the PA mid and have the Enigma. And if they want to actually rotate the PA as the core and have a support Jakiro, then I think that Magnus would be sweet too. But here we go, something interesting. Ogre plus Lina. That's a lot of stun and a lot of damage.
Yeah, now I've seen M5 do this once, and this will probably
5
be your King
seconds
R hero. He
remaining.
plays a mean position for Lina, and last time he just went straight for the Aghanims. He did a little bit of
Reserve
supporting,
time.
bought some wards, all that fun stuff, but kind of did it almost like a Witch Doctor, where you buy your basic support stuff, then just go Brown Boots into Aghanims, and you'll see him just running around, shooting lasers left and right, and I think his general goal will be to get the Aghanims about the time PA picks up the BKB, so when PA's thinking, all right, I'm safe, let's go get some crits, Lena's right there ready to chop her down despite the magic immunity.
Yeah, I love that mentality, and I think it's a hard counter to the Phantom Assassin. I mean, later on, she might be able to get something like a Satanic,
Radiant
which would
team
give her the raw HP to deal with that threat, but at this mid-game stage that you're talking about, where PA really wants to come online and start joining fights, the lead is going to be gunning for her over and over and over again, and it's going to be very frustrating to go up against. Now, I will note that PA is one of the few right-click carries that is really inhibited by BKBs, and the one thing Moscow5 doesn't really have is natural BKB carriers. You'll see it occasionally on the Razor. I don't see the Silencer picking up anytime soon, but yeah, it's still going to be something that they might need to pick up because they are against Darkseer Jakiro, they are against Shadow Shaman PA. BKB Razor would allow him to be so much more
10
involved in the
seconds
fights, and
remaining.
with that, if he does go for the tank build, he needs to
5
make sure that that
seconds
Eye Storm
remaining.
means something, and that means having somebody else with physical damage. Not just the pure damage from Silencer, not just the magic damage from Lina
Reserve
Ogre.
time.
They need one more physical damage dealer for presumably the offlane. The Magnus will come out for Fnatic, and I'm
Radiant
looking at a
team kill.
tide for Moscow5.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense, but Magnus, the hero that Hani's been loving in this patch, and it works pretty well here. You've got Darkseer who can kind of set it up a little bit, or vice versa. They sort of set up for each other, and then that leads in for a Macropyre. And even if you can get an Ice Path on, 2-3 heroes, that's pretty damn good. But whoa, the Necrophos from Moscow5. Okay.
Well, one thing that we know from this is Fnatic's lanes are very transparent. There's very few ways you lane this setting that they have put in place. So the Jakir is going to be support, the PA is going to be a safe lane farmer. You don't want to tri-lane the Magnus. So Moscow5, knowing this, are looking for an aggressive tri-lane. I'm thinking it's Ogre, Lina, and Silencer to leave Razor and Necro to go for the safe lanes, or it's for the solo lanes, but we'll have to see. I think this is a really good pick, though, if it does get a 1v1 matchup.
Yeah, I'm really curious about these lanes. Radiant side, maybe this will be the first time we see a little bit of the offlane Ogre with that new regeneration. It is picked up by PGG, so I kind of doubt it. More likely, I honestly don't know. I guess Razor. Who's better for the offlane, Razor or Necrophos? Or is it just going to be a 2-1-2?
I think they have to aggro try. I think it's Silencer, Ogre, Lina top. Okay, we do have a disconnection there.
Oh,
That wasn't a random pick, right? Just to confirm
you know
bonus
what?
time was there.
I'm really not sure, Blaze. Can we
Okay.
rehost? Arise is back. Oh, goody. Okay.
Okay. Well, that also gives us a little more intel of why they picked up the Magnus there.
Yep.
I thought it was a great pick, but maybe Tucker wasn't going to be as supreme as Arise is and is an amazing Magnus hero.
Yeah. So very interesting. I guess luckily for Fnatic, they've got their full roster here. Looks like all the casters are getting in, and we'll be able to get this game back underway pretty quick. But fun draft on both sides of the coin. A Necro versus a Darkseer. In this current patch, man, you really don't see those two coming out so often.
And one of the as the first pick, one as the last pick. So just kind of the bookends of this very interesting draft. But yeah, in this position, I really think that if they can just at least pull mildly ahead in their aggro try, as PA, she contributes to try versus tries decently, but she doesn't win them. She can farm under her tower with a stifling dagger and that kind of thing. But as long as Moscow 5 put out some aggression, suppress a little bit, get a few charges of the glaives for the silencer, the int stacks there, then I think that they're going to be feeling really good because their safe lane solo is getting 100% experience there. You're not going to be denying Necrophos very often with a hero like Darkseer. And if you get that matchup, Darkseer versus Necrophos, then Necro's going to be able to rotate very early with that Scythe. And early game Scythe is now actually very scary. The plus 30 seconds on the death timer when the ultimate connects and gets a kill is not only going to give a huge infusion of mana and HP to the Necro to keep momentum rolling, but you're not going to have the reinforcement you need. You're going to have to commit a buyback at like the
Well,
10, 15-minute mark.
Wait a second here, Blaze. It's just 30 seconds all the time now. The Aghanim stops you from buying back, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But you
So
get that extra 30 seconds without the Aghanims. That's just... Oh, you were saying... I'm sorry. Scythe is... I'm an idiot. You're right. Pretend I didn't say anything. That's what I get for trying to read and listen at the same time.
It's no problem, man. But
I'm so sorry, Blaze. I shouldn't have
before it
doubted you.
was only 30%, so in the lower levels it was kind of shitty. It's like, okay, I get 1-2 seconds extra on my timer. But now it's better at all levels because obviously the maximum death timer before was like 100. So 30% increase there is still 30 seconds, but everything prior to that is so much longer. So instead of being like down in the grave for 16 seconds, you're gone for 46, and that's a completely different scenario. You can push another tower on that. You can do a lot of work. So I'm expecting some big things here.
Me too. Hopefully we can load in and Arise does not have any connection issues. That's the big fingers crossed here.
So yeah, I think that if they go for the aggro try with the silencer, they're not going to be able to suppress the PA so much, but they're going to be able to control the supports. Jakiro, alongside Shadow Shaman, they're kind of heroes that are very short range, and they also, specifically the Shadow Shaman, has to stand still and get involved. So you think about the ability Shackles on Shadow Shaman. This is actually usually one of his more powerful laning utilities, even though he only leaves it at one point in it. But against a Lina and Ogre, you're never going to be able to just stand there and shackle people. It's not going to happen. So I think that they're going to be able to really suppress this lane. The Shadow Shaman is not going to be contributing as much for like the first 3 levels. And yeah, I think that the aggro try is definitely the way to go. But we'll see how they do it. For right now, it's Vigos on the silencer being pulled Tango. So it looks like he'll be in the mid, and Tron is going to be that core hero on the aggressive try.
Yeah. If you could fill for another second here, Blaze.
Sure.
Sorry,
So just calling these lanes, since I think the action's going to be very early, a lot of level 1 clashes here. We're going to be looking at PGG Ogre Magi going up top. He's supporting it up. He's very tanky right now. 7 armor, 625 HP, and he's got a Tango and Sav stack, so he's going to be pretty good there. Tron is running that Razor. He's going to be committing most likely just a early 2 points of Plasma Field and 1 in Static Link, but we'll see how much they really want to invest in nukes. King R is going to be the third hero here, and he's going to be the one that follows up after the Ogre stuns. He's going to be running that Lina, and Yeah, there's already a lot of potential, but Fnatic are dropping down some wards. They know they're going to be under some real pressure, and maybe they'll try to play musical lanes a little bit. Maybe send the PA down
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah, we'll see how they want to adjust it. Right now, it's Ace headed to the off lane on the Jakiro. Rise is on the Shadow Shaman, kind of just turtled up on the high ground here. We'll see where he ends up roaming about, but I think he'll have to head to that top lane. And it is a Rise, solo mid on the Magnus. No big surprise there. So this is really awkward. Connie and Come With Me in the same lane. Okay, now they'll rotate out. Come With Me on the Darkseer. We'll move out from top. Looks like he's headed bottom. And are Fnatic going to aggro try around this Darkseer?
I think it's just going to be roaming support duo, seeing what they can accomplish in the early game. But
Okay.
Ace is definitely going to stay down bottom for a while. Come With Me. I don't know. He almost seems to have a support build right now. Like, he's got only consumables. So I kind of feel like this is going to be like a jungling Darkseer in the on the Radiant side. Or a creep cutting one, for that matter. If they know all the pressure is up top, maybe they can just cut behind the tower, and there's nothing Blow Your Brain could do. I love this, actually, if they can do it, but it looks like he's just going to hit the jungle first. Yeah, he's just going for the easy camp. But maybe at like level 2, level 3, he can make his way down to the actual lane, and Necrophos doesn't really have much that he can do under the tower.
Yeah, a Rise with a double damage rune. He's going to come around the backside and Blow Your Brain in a very forward position here. This could actually cost him the double damage alone, chunking him down. This is your first blood, easy peasy. It's going to be the Shadow Shaman that grabs it with the shackle damage. And off to a slow start on the Necro. Okay, well there you have it. Very forward positioning given that he doesn't have any wards in his jungle here. I'm sort of surprised that he was that far forward with so many heroes missing off the map.
Yeah, I think they took for granted what would seem inflexibility from Fnatic's draft. You usually say, okay, those supports have to be up top, but why really? I mean, if you know what you're up against and you just can farm under the tower with your PA, you don't need to control the lane. You just need her to survive, your team to carry TPs in case she gets dove, and otherwise, yeah, you're going to be able to actually put pressure out elsewhere. So we do see the jungle Darkseer is dropping very low, will salve up here. But I honestly think there's a lot of value in starting to creep cut. Oh, look at his position again. Blow Your Brain is once again dead.
Oh, man. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Blow Your Brain. Lena's going to come in. We'll connect with a beautiful Light Strike array, but is it going to be enough? It's not looking like it. There's the surge on the Jakiro, and Necrophos falls once more. Ace grabs the kill, but in comes the recovery. Another beautiful Light Strike array. PGG doing as much as he can. They get the kill on the Darkseer. They'll turn it around and make it a 1-for-2 this time, so at least M5 come out ahead off that exchange, but it does cost some rotations, and the story is the same for the Necrophos. He's getting completely shut down, already 0-2 with 0 last hits.
Yeah, the Necrophos' situation is really bad, and this is a hero that you don't necessarily need to snowball with, but you need to keep pace with your opponents. If you're falling behind, you're going to be gunned down so hard that essentially you're just a walking scythe. Like, at that point, you buy a Blink Dagger to initiate with your Reaper Scythe after other heroes do the damage, because in this position, like, you can't stand and deliver. You can't tank up the damage. You can't make the most of your heals and your status and so on. But at least right now, the lane position has finalized. We do see Tron is kind of going for a 1-versus-1 versus Hani, and the supports are close enough to aid Hani in a bad situation, kind of going for a dual jungle right now.
Yeah, Hani's farm is actually a little bit lackluster. Razor's doing a really good job here, putting some points in that static link, making Hani's life difficult, and only 10-1 on the PA compared to the 18-7 on the Razor. So great news in the top lane for Moscow5. In the mid, Silencer farming pretty evenly with the Rise. They're within a few last hits of each other, a few more denies on Shirtada, but I guess good news on both sides of the coin. Silencer very susceptible to ganks early on, but Fnatic supports have had their hands full with the bottom lane and now work in the jungle. So Silencer getting that space early on, not getting ganked before level 6. I would say is a minor victory for M5, whereas Magnus much less susceptible to those ganks, compliments of that skewer there.
Yeah. It's worth noting that Vigas is not putting any points in Curse to the Silent. Often you see at least a couple there because you're going to be wanting to max it once you get your Aghanim Scepter. But as it is, he's just trying to overwhelm his opponent, getting more CS with his 2 points in Glaives, and just spamming out that last word for the convenient nukes. But in the end, Rise helps cover the rune for a Rise, and he's going to be able to bottle up and be at full HP once again.
Yeah, usually with this Silencer build, it's a sign that the Silencer is going to go for a utility item first, either a mech or a Force Staff before moving into the Aghanim Scepter. And with that build, you'll have enough time to max out Curse of the Silent when you get the Ags, but here he's in some trouble. Skewer back down to the low ground. Arise will trap him on the side of the cliff, and it will be a successful rotation. And just as I was saying, Silencer's had a good time. They'll punish him, and they get a little freebie there. It's also Magnus that gets the kill, so that puts him into Arcane Boot territory, and with that, he'll just head over to the secret shop and grab that energy booster.
Yeah, I really love how Fnatic has weathered the storm of this laning phase. These first 5 minutes could have been disastrous if they just let the lanes go as the status quo. Moscow5 drafted some really good lanes. If they got gotten that try and the two 1v1s, then that would have been Fnatic just losing out on almost all fronts. But as it stands, they're up a kill. Are able to give Honey at least some farm. Like you mentioned, he didn't have the best start, but now with the Stifling Dagger at level 3, you can't stop him from at least getting a couple CS per wave. And yeah, he's just having... Oh, he misses one, actually. Pure damage. But, oh well. It's just going to be, in this situation, more convenient farm for the Phantom Assassin, and she is going to be a relevant hero towards the 10 to 15 minute mark.
Yep. So Necrophos at least found a couple of last hits here, getting some space, but now the rotation from Ryze. Ace also getting a lot of space down here in the off lane. You don't normally think of the off lane Jakiro as one where he'll find a lot of farm, but in this scenario, it's worked out great. He's 20 and 10, and level 5 already with quite a few points in that liquid fire. We'll see a rotation towards mid as a Ryze gets pinged out. PGG starts it off. There's the Lina connection with the Light Strike Array, and that's the power of this roaming duo. The sure stun from the Ogre mixed with the skill shot of Lina makes for a pretty easy setup, and that Dragon Slave doing a hell of a lot of damage here.
Yeah, people like to look at Ogre and say, oh, he's RNG-based. The multicast makes him very unreliable in what he outputs. And while that's true, it just means he has more potential when he does get the multicast, and he gets a very reliable stun otherwise. Because the stun has no projectile, there's no blink dodges, there's no disjointing. It's just there, and that's going to be exactly what King R needs to follow it up cleanly. Now the initial wards are going to be expiring in about a minute's time, and although there hasn't been many active positions to de-ward, there haven't been actually any successful sentries as far as I've seen, still, we're going to be seeing the blind spots come out, and we're going to see some big wards be refreshed. Namely, Lina, King R going into the pit and dropping this high ground Radiant Observer ward. It is just absolutely insane at pretty much all stages of the game.
Yeah, great vision. And right now they're scouting out Ryze, who's hiding in the jungle. He thinks he's being sneaky, but little does he know. Also gives you so much intel over the Ancients. You can see exactly when someone's moving in there, stacking them up, and more often than not at this stage of the game, if someone's doing work with the Ancients, they might be a little low on health and susceptible to a gank. So good stuff there. Lina, soon to be level 6. At the beginning of level 5, but King R finding a pretty good amount of experience as a roaming support. Ahead of the other supports right now, and actually ahead of the Darkseer as well as the safe lane farmer for M5, of course the Necrophos, who's had this rocky start. So we'll have that Laguna Blade online sooner rather than later, and as I've mentioned before, that's when King R will really start to move around and get aggressive.
Interesting TP from Come With Me. I'm not sure exactly what he thinks he can accomplish with this. If he gives Iron Shell and Surge to Honey, maybe something happens, but here's the mid lane action. They're trying to get this stun combo onto a Ryze. It hurts him substantially, but it doesn't finish him off. Even without the bottle, he's able to just walk away with 100 HP, and that's a decent-sized ultimate to get nothing out of.
Yep. 8-minute rune. Up top, Razor. Here we go. Hani with the Ion Shell. Lawnmower coming out, and he'll be able to chase him down with the Surge and chops him with a Phantom Strike. So Hani finds a kill up top, gets a nice little net worth gain off that, and we'll start to recover a little bit. Razor's still out farming him by a pretty good margin, but that kill will certainly help to close the gap. Now in the bottom, Tritada looking for the rune. We'll be able to bottle up the regen. Out comes the Macro Pyre, and Ether Shock will slow him down. Just barely gets caught inside of the ice wall, or ice path
nice
rather. Ryze TPs to the tier 1 tower. What a player! Skewer forward, Shockwave to secure the kill. Blow Your Brain as well as King R coming in. Light Strike Array connects on Ryze. Dragon Slave onto Ace, but he just barely lives. Blow Your Brain with the Reaper's Scythe brings down the Shadow Shaman.
Look at Shadow Shaman's death timer right now. 40 seconds. Ooh. That's a level 4 hero that's down for the count. But I will mention that you mentioned that Jakiro would barely survive with that bottle. It wasn't his bottle. It was a Ryze's bottle sip. He just TP'd to a tier 1 to secure a kill, using it as like a double blink dagger, and then he bottle sips his ally to keep him alive. That was a 2-kill swing for a Ryze entirely. Fnatic, you got to be thanking this man because he is carrying you guys in this early game.
Yeah, that was a pretty heads-up play there, just a TP to the tier 1 tower. Not something a lot of players would have thought of at the spur of the moment, but certainly worked out and closed the escape route. So Jakiro, soon to be level 7, almost has that maxed out Liquid Fire. Staff of Wizardry early on, probably just looking for a 4-staff, getting a little bit of utility to get things started here. But it is M5 that are still doing pretty well in these lanes. Golden Experience, pretty even, kind of centered around that 0 mark, but Razor and Silencer still 1 and 2 on the net worth chart, and Silencer with that early Staff of Wizardry. I'm pretty confident this will be a 4-staff coming out before he looks at the Ags. Still 0 points in that Curse of the Silent. Tron up top. RP from Arise. He's got the Ion Shell on, as does Come With Me. The double Ion Shell, more than enough to tick down the Razor. And Tron will head back to the grave. Now PGG coming in, looking for some vengeance. Connects with the stun. There's the Laguna Blade. They'll get chopped down by King R. Now they'll sound the retreat. Global Silence comes out from the Silencer himself. And King R will be okay. Now in the bottom lane, below your brain, stuck inside of the shackles, Macro Pyre, Ice Path to follow up. A lot of damage on the Necro, eats his wand, uses the Death Pulse, but just not enough. Burns down to the fire, and Rise will finish him off with one more stray auto attack.
Rise had plenty of time to think about what he's done, so he wanted to plan out his next move, and upon his long respawn, he smokes down to the bottom lane and finds that nice opening, despite that Observer Ward that usually would prevent that kind of thing. So, nice move there. Vgas harassing back Rise pretty well on the mid as well, but he's going to be pretty inactive until the RV comes back up. Just looking to farm up his Blink Dagger slowly, and yeah, in the meantime, it just kind of, I would say passivity breaking out, but PGG is under some real pressure here.
Yep, carving some bacon off the Fatty Ogre's back as Tron comes in, trying to find a recovery kill. Goes on to Come With Me. He'll have a surge in 1 second. Tritada gets slowed down by the dagger, but Tron, he's stolen just a little bit of damage there. Still able to bring down the Darkseer. Silencer helping him out with 3 points in the Glaives of Wisdom. You don't see this build so often, but it is giving Tritada a nice little bump in damage, even in the early stage.
Yeah, the Staff of Wizardry giving him plus 10 physical damage, and then the pure damage on top is really nice. And it looks like he's going to go for the Force Staff here. Almost misbought, but he does buy it all out, and he is going to have that nice bit of mobility. This can be used to... Oh, bottom. Again. Jeez.
Yep, he's having a rough time. That'll make him 1-4. M5 will rotate some heroes to try and help them out. PGG throws in an Ignite past the tower, but they have plenty of time to react, and even though they're low health, they'll be able to survive. Now M5 kind of grouped up into the tower. They're thinking about diving. This Ace gets hit by the Plasma Field, 19 hit points, trying to move around in the trees, juking and jiving, but will go down. Connects with an Ice Path onto Tron. Meanwhile, Lina going blow for blow with a Rise. He's got an RP, will burn it solo onto King R, skewers him back into the tower, and Lina Inverse will take a spill. It is Fnatic that do get a pretty decent trade out of this. They'll lose a little damage on their Tier 1 tower, but PGG needs to be careful here. If PA wanted to jump on him, this could be a bit scary. TP coming in, Tron with the Plasma Field. Rise looking to set something up on PGG, gets off the shackles. There's your Global Silence, and it'll keep the Ogre alive. But a very defensive use of that long ultimate from the Silencer.
That's the second time he's used it that way, but both time definitely saving lives. 100% save PGG there, and it's pretty important to give as little as possible to Fnatic at this stage in the game, because Hani's looking to rebound. Like, he had a really weak laning phase, only 49 CS for a PA that's very low. He's just going to go for Phase Boots, Aquila, and Morbid Mask, but a couple of kills the right way, and he'll be right back on his feet and building some really big items, including the BKB, which, as you mentioned in the draft, he's kind of in a foot race against King R's Aghanim Scepter there. He really needs to pick up that BKB quick before it is kind of rendered obsolete. But in the meantime, we're going to see an interesting pickup here from Come With Me. He's found some real good kills with the Ion Shell Surge onto allies, but now looking to build himself up into something pretty big with this Hand of Midas.
Yeah, we've seen this, well, I would say somewhat commonly, not too unheard of. Kind of Bone 7, one of the pioneers of the Hand of Midas Darkseer, and it's really great once you look towards the late game. Like 30-minute plus, Darkseer will have all sorts of great items, probably a Shiva's, Blink Dagger in this case, maybe a Crimson Guard, and have a lot of potential to do stuff. But there's this big, maybe 10-minute window now where Darkseer is just not that scary. If they lock him down with a stun or two, if he gets hit by the Ogre, he's very susceptible to Laguna Blade, and not all that tanky with absolutely no stats items. So a bit of a gamble from Come With Me. If M5 don't turn up the aggression, then it will certainly pay off, but Mech soon to come out on the Razor. Lina working on the Ags, as you mentioned. Ogre's found his level 7. I don't really see too many indicators that M5 are going to sit back and turn this into a passive farm fest.
Yeah, not at all. As long as they have the Global Silence with them, they're pretty confident to take a fight, and they have initiation and de-initiation tools with the Force Staff. We're going to see a TP up top. The Laguna is available. Even if only level 1, it's great to come with the Reaper Scythe and try to prevent Arise's Blink.
And here you go, Reaper to start things off. There's the Laguna Blade, and exactly as you said it, normally you'll see the Scythe as a little bit more of a finisher, but in this case, having that sure stun makes it pretty easy for King R.
I think if they had Laguna'd first, they would have gotten the death effect for Blow Your Brain, which would have given them the Sadist, which would have gotten the increased death timer. That might have been a misplay on the Lina's part.
Yeah. But still, the important thing is they find the kill. And in this case, Lina does get the last hit, so now King R a bit closer to his Aghanims, but, well, going to get knocked down another 200 gold or so as he takes a bad path home, gets caught out by the Shadow Shaman PA combo, and that will be another kill going the way of Hani. So he gets a little pick-me-up here. And speaking of Hani, not going for that fast BKB, and it is going for a little bit more of a mid-game fighting build, but phase boots Aquila and now into a Helm of the Dominator. Not a bad build, but I feel like if you want to do this, the drum is pretty core, mostly just for the stats. I mean, right now, PA pretty damn squishy, and against the Bursty Ogre Lina combo on top of that with the Razor, with the Plasma Field and all that, Hani is pretty susceptible to this magical burst damage. As we'll hold that thought. Down bottom, Tron gets caught out. RP just on him, but there's a wraparound. The cavalry has arrived. Global Silence has already come through. They'll throw a stun out onto Rise, but Razor already gone down, and now the rest of M5 in some trouble. Laguna to finish off the Magnus. The tower's gone down, not denied. They'll lose their silencer. PGG and King are now on the run. 2x on to come with me. PGG's going to turn and smack him with the Lantern. King are on the high ground, just laying in the auto attacks. The Fatty Ogre almost able to survive. It's a 2 for 3, but M5 got the tower, and now soon to be a 3 for 3. Blow Your Brain coming from the mid lane right onto Ace. There's already a Yule Scepter up that'll stop him dead in his tracks. Has the Reaper's Scythe available, just cooled down, but only Brown Boots on the Necro. Not going to be able to close the gap, and will be forced back. Now Hani finds him. Dagger, blink to the low ground, laying into him, looking for that coup de grace, but King R's there with the Light Strike Array. Not enough mana for the Dragon Slave, just barely finds it, but Blow Your Brain will TP home after using the Death Pulse. And after that chaotic fight is finished, it is Fnatic that comes out with the net worth boon, but not all bad news for M5.
Yeah, Rise could have gone for the flank there, and that actually would have been a worse situation for the Necrophos, but honestly, he just kind of stood there farming creeps, and in the end, the very tail end of the fight, no blood is shed, but that was a bloodbath back and forth prior to that point. Now, it's interesting because we're looking at that Morbid Mask. You mentioned the Helm of the Dominator. He's actually going to be going for the Mask of Menace here, and that's actually what I thought he would probably do with the Morbid Mask, and it's because not only does it enhance his farm, as we see here on the Ancients, he's clearing out stacks left and right with the help of Empower, but it also is during the timing window where they get the vacuum RP. This is the PA's time where she just wants to do as much damage as possible. And with Phantom Strike on top of Mask of Madness, you get to 230 increased attack speed. You really want to make that timing window count and just kind of squeeze it for all it's worth. So it seems like a risky move, but as long as he only uses the Mask of Madness when he's farming or during an RP, he should be in a good position to really just deliver a huge amount of damage.
Yep. All about the timing. Tritada will find the tower deny in the mid lane. That is the second tower kill of the game for the Dire, so limiting some of their gold income there as M5 do start to group up towards the top. Blink Dagger from Arise goes right in onto Vigas. Solo RP, skewer back. Hani's there with the dagger, and they'll find an easy pick on the Silencer, but Shadow Shaman, he just gets Laguna chopped down. King R will TP home. Nice heads-up play there, although Come With Me coming in with a vacuum at the ready. Almost interrupted that one. Still a 1-for-1 in the mid, and with that space created, M5 will grab the Tier 1 tower in the top lane.
So we'll see what Tron goes into next here. If he goes for the Aghanim Scepter, he'll have enough mana to sustain. Okay, wow. Never-ending action here. BGG gets crit down by the Stifling Dagger. Just wandered into the wrong part of town here, and obviously gets knocked down and taken down a notch. But yeah, with this, if the Razor picks up like a point booster, he's going to have enough mana to sustain all of his spells and the mechanism, which is really important for them to get back in the game as far as these fights go, because they have a ton of pick-off potential here with the Laguna and the Reaper Scythe, but they want more than that. They want to be able to hold a 5-man as long as they don't get hit by the RP 3 or more, and we'll see. Maybe for now it's just going to be pick-off and Come With Me, but they'll want more after that.
Yeah, the Dragon Slave just barely misses. If that had connected, I think Tritada would have had the damage, even with the Force Staff trying to get in there. He just barely has it. I don't think he would have gotten another auto attack off, but he secures the kill, gets himself a little bit of extra in. And a nice little pick-me-up from Moscow5. Nice 800 gold net worth change in their favor. Jakiro with an interesting item choice. Goes into the Yule Scepter and right after picks up a Blink Dagger now at level 11. So just looking to grab some positioning tools here and be able to get off those clutch ice paths.
Yeah, and also to get just the Yule Scepter, get in range for that. He's essentially playing the role of the Death Prophet here, where you just want to find somebody, pick them off, and the way to do that is to blink on them, then get the Yules immediately. And obviously, like you mentioned, follow that up with the Ice Path. That'll set up a guaranteed skewer on them so that anybody out of position can be initiated on from like 2,000 range. It's pretty insane. So you can kind of compare that to what the Disruptor can do with Glimpse, and having to be very fearful of your position constantly is not something that M5 want to do. But now they're going to move together. It looks like they're making their move towards mid, though, and this sneaky Roche will go undetected.
Yeah, roster wards come down, and they should be able to secure this. in the mid lane. Come with me and Arise could be in a little bit of trouble. Arise has used his Blink Dagger, but the smoke has been broken, and the jig is up. Global Silence comes out, but it's kind of a wasted cooldown here. A little bit. Force Staff forward. They will catch out Come With Me. Okay, not completely wasted. They finally lock him down. Arise with a skewer back onto King R. Has an RP, doesn't use it. They rendezvous for the mech, and that'll pick up King R, and now they'll move into this tower. But Roche has gone down. Hani picks up the Aegis of the Immortal, goes into King R, throws him with a dagger. Now Arise coming in. RP still at the ready. Ace sets it up onto the Ogre with the Yules. And there's an RP on two. Nicely done by Arise. Hani comes in. Mask of Madness still not turned on, being very wise about it, as there's still a lot of heroes that can do some damage as Tron comes in. Macro Pyre flies through to kind of zone them out. They'll find the kill on the Razor, perhaps. A few more auto attacks will bring him down. He's dead. They lose their Shadow Shaman, but now Blow Your Brain gets left behind. He's spamming the Death Pulse, able to find the kill onto Hani. Surviving a lot longer than we would have thought, and may actually live. Nope, Hani comes back to life, chops him down. Lacuna Blade to the Magnus, more than enough to finish him off. Now King R in some trouble. Hani finishes him off with the pure damage. And a TP out from Tritada, and the crit from Hani. Oh my gosh, it's not going to be enough, but Jakiro does end up falling to the last word of the Silencer. So that was a pretty crazy fight, and ends up being a 4 for 5 if you count the Aegis on the PA, but she came back to life, so pretty much a break even in that one, Blaze.
Yeah, it was a very chaotic fight, but at least they broke down the Aegis, which would have been a very real problem for them. Still, Fnatic with the sneak play, they got the better end just off of that fact alone. Taking the Aegis and taking Roshan, the golden experience there, it definitely was well worth it, even though Moscow5 did get some nice kills. In fact, it wouldn't have been nearly as good of a fight if it wasn't for that Reaper Scythe buff. Darkseer had like a 70-second death timer, and although he could have bought back, that would have put him away from the mechanism further. So essentially, they just took him out of that fight completely. No matter how long it lasted, he was still not involved at all. So it could have been a lot worse for Moscow5, but at least they got that jump on the Darkseer, and even though it cost them decently, they do take down that Aegis.
Yep. So looking at net worth, it is Fnatic that's come out pretty far ahead. 5,000 gold, about 6,000 experience. We'll see PGG in the mid lane here get set up on, and the skewer right back to the tower. Ogre going to have a little bit of a feed, though. To be fair to PGG, probably not expecting a 5-hero rotation, as he's just kind of in the river here in the mid lane with plenty of allies behind him. But a quick pick, and that's part of the power of the Arise Magnus. He's pretty good at just catching you off guard, finding that skewer, and all of a sudden pulling you back to his allies, where escape is usually not much of a possibility.
Yeah. You're going to see that the Moscow5 lineup doesn't really want to go for a BKB on any of their heroes. Like, across the board, they just want to go for Aghanim Scepters and things of that nature. But with this Jakiro building and playing the way he is, Ace is kind of threatening it, where it's like, okay, if you don't buy BKBs, then I'm just going to wreck you. I'm going to blink in, I'm going to find all these opportunities. All they need is a little bit of vision, and like Tron's going to die if they catch sight of him. Luckily, the Radiant Observer Ward catches sight of Ace first, and this is nighttime, so the Fog of War is quite limiting.
Yep. Looks like Tron will be okay for now. We'll take a look at some of the vision here. There is a Radiant Ward down, so they have the advantage, at least in terms of vision. Hani and Arise on the run, and it seems like Fnatic are not interested in taking a fight here, as they don't have the vision advantage, and they will just peace out, as they say, as they head to the bottom lane. And M5, looks like they're headed towards the mid. They seem pretty interested in just trying to finish off this Tier 1 tower that's giving them a bit of trouble.
Yeah, so it looks like they're just going to go for that cluster, relying on the Global Silence heavily here. If Fnatic make a play to defend, it's all about that Global to keep Moscow5 fighting. And then, of course, trying to get a quick pick off with the Reaper Scythe. Mechanism is up for Blow Your Brain, so he's actually one of the harder targets to bring down, and that's a good thing to say about your Necrophos. But at least for now, the Tier 1's dropping quickly. The TPs are coming in, though, and here comes that Global.
Yeah, fight coming out at the Tier 1 towers. They're going on to Blow Your Brain, but he has his BKB, rather tanky. Global Silence finally flies through, and looks like it's sort of a lackluster team fight. M5 are all ready with their BKB, the 10-second charge on the Necro. Now it's expired, and they're going to go in on him. No Yules on the Jakiro, but they still find the Ice Path. Hani going on to Blow Your Brain as hard as he can, and they'll be able to bring down the Phantom Assassin. Lina with the Laguna Blade, making it happen. PGG on the other side kind of zoning out the rest of the forces as Razor now getting aggressive, starting to chop him down, has the ultimate on. Come With Me will surge back to safety. It's just a 1-0, but Hani's that big, valuable target that they wanted to bring down, and yep, not going to be able to do a hell of a lot as the Laguna Blade is upgraded. Aghanim Scepter cutting right through the Black King bar.
Yeah, very, very powerful there. The Global Silence was really bad, unfortunately. They were trying to secure the fight. They were trying to make it so that guaranteed they would get somebody killed with the global, and then at least they could follow that up into a tower push with a long death timer. But here, the defensive blink works out for Jakiro, and he disengages in full. Now looking at PGG, committing the macro fire. He will get stunned out, but PGG's taking a lot of damage in turn. Will just barely survive, and they look for the turn.
Yeah, now Ace, he's definitely going to go down. Can they get a few more out of this? All the force stabs to disengage will keep him alive, and PGG walks away by the skin of his teeth. Literally, like, what, 15 hit points to spare off that one?
Yeah, that was extremely close, but just a little too tanky, and he is going to be the one that is able to wade through that. Most heroes in this situation, especially with no natural HP items, would die so damn easy. But here he's got 55 strength without buying a dime, or well, spending a dime. And yeah, now it's into this position where they're not confident in their pickoff play anymore. Like Jakiro, he would love to just keep doing this thing with the blink mules, but right now it just doesn't seem enough against heroes like Ogre, and soon enough against heroes like Necrophos and Razor.
Yep. So Hani's net worth, it's starting to dip down. He's still number 1, but Necro's closing the gap. He will be able to take out an Ancient Stack here, so that'll give him a little pick-me-up. Hani looks to be going for a basher with this first Javelin, so looking for some extra RNG on top of his coup de grace. Any thoughts about the item build here in general, Blaze? I feel like the BKB is still the item you have to go, even though Lina is basically a step ahead with this this Aghanim Scepter.
Yeah, there's no easy answer right now. I think like if somebody else buys a Lincoln Sphere, he could find himself tanky enough. But no matter the case, I think like their answer is just to RP the Lina. Just try to take her out of the fight, because otherwise Hani's going down no matter how you look at it.
Yep, and Ace comes in, sets up onto Tritada. Blow Your Brain takes one of the daggers. But it seems like Fnatic don't really want to commit to this until they have their full roster here. They will TP to the towers and look to reconnect and then take this fight in a different manner with a rise in the front lines. M5 will do kind of the same thing as they retreat, regroup, and they'll just straight up disengage. They do not want to take this fight, and they'll just head back to farming.
Yeah, these Silencer ultimates are attempting to be proactive instead of reactive, and that's a dangerous slope. Like, if you have Stampede to go with it, that's a great course of action, but their only real way to close distance right now is just to force staff forward one hero that still is not the most durable. I mean, not a single one of these heroes is strength-based. Not a single one of them is all that tanky. I mean, PGG, we mentioned, naturally is pretty good, but he didn't buy any HP items. So who do you force forward to try to make this engage happen? I don't really see an easy hero to pick, and honestly, these global silences just need to be used more defensively and reactively. Otherwise, they're going to be completely wasted.
Yep, they will. There we go. Basher's out. Rasta wards come down on the tier 1 tower. There is a Radiant Glyph if M5 want to try to mount a defense, and they will at least use the Glyph, but not really rotating towards this tower. It seems like sort of an odd choice to burn the Glyph here and not do anything with it, but that's exactly what'll happen. Maybe they'll try to catch someone on the retreat. Come with me on the high ground. We see a ping come out from PGG, and all right, it's just a free tower. Roche up in 15 seconds. This could end up being very lucky for Fnatic. It's a very fast Roche respawn as they head back that way, though there are some Radiant wards down, so they would be scouted out, but they still have the damn good Roche lineup here.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that if they get the Aegis on PA, that's the answer that they've been looking for as far as Laguna Blade goes. Like, this Lina is quickly approaching level 16, which would put her at 950 pure damage, BKB or not. But although that's 2/3 of PA's health, if she has an Aegis, she could still come back and start swinging away, as long as Arise has the clairvoyance to refresh that Empower. That's the important thing when you come back up after the Aegis is expended. But there's no guarantees as far as the Roche pick goes, because, like I was saying, Moscow5 are trying to be proactive with their global silence, and there's no better way to force a fight than trapping the entire enemy lineup inside the pit.
Yeah. I don't think they've scouted it out quite yet. So we'll see how they want to handle it. Hani now with 1,400 gold after his Basher complete. Do you think the right into the Abyssal is kind of the right item trajectory here?
It's a hard call. If the Darkseer looks to build a Lincoln Sphere as his next item to put it on the PA, I think that Abyssal would be great, but otherwise he still needs more HP. He just needs something to give him some degree of durability.
I mean,
and
this could be a game where Hani might need to consider a Lincolns of his own and an allied Lincolns. I mean, there's still a lot of single target on the side of M5. If they can use the buff appropriately after his initial Lincolns is done, that could make him pretty unkillable with that BKB.
Yeah, but he's got 9 seconds right now. I think one Lincoln charge is enough for now. When he's down to 5 seconds, I definitely agree.
Is under attack.
Yeah, so we'll see how this works out. Looks like M5 will scout out. Roshan walks in, but the RP from Arise. But the global silence comes right through. Hani chops down the Lina, the Necrophos to boot. And it's a quick 2-0 to get this one started. Ace off to the side will get clicked down by Tritada, but Tron off to the other side. Rasta wards come down. He'll get skewered back in, and it's a 1-for-3 trade. Fnatic coming out way ahead. Arise making it happen with a beautiful RP to get that fight started.
And that's what they've been looking for this entire game. As far as this draft goes, that's exactly what it's designed to do. They had the vision advantage, they had an observer ward down, the smoke active, and they found their opening. They take 3 kills. They get, especially the kill on the Necrophos early is really important. He didn't get a BKB, he didn't get his ulti off, and they're going to get Roshan on the back of that. So that guarantees the outer tier towers are gone. You cannot take a tier 2 fight as Moscow5 here, and they're just going to be holding position on the tier 3.
Yep, Aegis of the Immortal goes to Hani now. He's up to 2,600 gold, so pretty close to that Abyssal if that's where he wants to be. Darkseer still a good ways off what could be a Lincoln Sphere. Only 1,700 gold up on him. We've got a full Aghanim Scepter coming out for Ace, so Jakiro going to have that sniper rifle of a Macro Pyre.
Wow.
And get that duration up to 14 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty huge for sieging, honestly, because you can just drop it right into the base, and you'll just hit the full frontal assault. I don't know, obviously it won't affect the buildings, but anybody trying to defend those buildings will be just getting their heels licked there. But we'll see how impactful it will be. It's still a very short cooldown at 60 seconds, so you might still use it for solo kills and just amplify the potential there. It does increase not only the range, distance, and duration, but it also enhances that damage for a little more potential until somebody buys a BKB.
Yeah. Absolutely. So sort of a luxury item on Jakiro. We see it pop out every so often, but when you have this kind of farm priority, not too many other items you could go for other than a pipe. I think a pipe could be helpful in this game. Even if it just mitigated some of the Laguna Blade, that could be the make it or break it of keeping Hani alive long enough to get another crit or his certain death. So maybe something Jakiro will be considering next, but RP on 2 in the mid lane. Tron and PGG get pushed back right into an ice path. Hani taking so much damage. The Lina dropping the hammer. Ogre Magi will go down. Hani loses the Aegis of the Immortal, and now M5 starting to retreat off to the side. It will be Tritada caught inside of the Yule's Ice Path combo. Arise coming in. There's your global silence from Tritada. Can they turn this around to find some more kills, though? It's just a 1 for Aegis right now. They'll find Come With Me. And there's your Reaper's Scythe. It's a dead Darkseer with a long buyback, or a long cooldown to respawn. Rasta wards come down right on top of Tritada. He'll die off to the backside. Blow Your Brain gets skewered out, and Tron, one more auto attack should bring him down. It's a shockwave from the high ground as M5 starting to get cleaned up. Now Blow Your Brain. He's in some trouble. Hani laying in the auto attacks. Ace comes in, and King R, he's just scaring him back. That cooldown has a pretty short duration on the Laguna Blade, but still the Necrophos ends up falling to the PA. So it is Fnatic that come out way ahead after this long skirmish. A 3 for 4, but that is counting the Aegis.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, they really needed to just... Moscow5 had a really hard fight when that RP came out. I mean, Hani made a bit of a mistake there. He actually went for the Phantom Strike onto the Razor, which purged his movement speed down very slow, right when the Magnus was scaring them away. So miscommunication, and they do lose out on some DPS time there. But in the end, it's still a really good use of that Aegis. Unfortunately, they don't get to push tier 2s off of that. Like, I kind of felt in this position, Moscow5 didn't have a chance of holding any of their tier 2 towers, but Fnatic, they tried to take the fight in the midst of things, and Hani did go down really fast, as you saw, to that Laguna Blade. He popped his Mask of Madness with his first life, also his BKB, but yeah, that BKB just doesn't cover it against the Lina.
It looks like he wants a Linken's, though. He's got the Perseverance. It could be a Battle Fury, but I'd be very surprised. Yeah, there's the Orb, so he's on the right track. He's just going to try and be defensive here and tank up as much as he can. Darkseer, still 2,100 gold, hasn't made a commitment either way. Necrophos will move into the Aghanim Scepter of his own. So now that Reaper's Scythe does one hell of a lot of damage, first of all. But second, on top of that, there will be no buyback for whoever is the victim, which can possibly be a game-winning Ags upgrade. If you catch Hani with that ultimate, they bring him down. That's a PA in the grave that long with no buyback is a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. It's a very clean way to win the game. But we'll see if it's going to come out. As long as they keep on waiting and playing patiently with Roche cycles, the Aegis will still bring Hani back up, and he won't have to worry about that buyback effect. But, I mean, if they hold the Scythe as long as they did that in that last fight in the future, then they're going to be able to still be able to break the Lincolns, wait out the BKB, and bring him down when it really counts. But for now, at least, Honey, he's got his Lincolns up, and he's feeling so much more confident with that one available. Like, right now, there is no way to Laguna him in BKB, and that's the really big deal there.
Yeah. So Arise, he'll get Surge. They'll find PGG, skewer back, but the Global Silence comes out. Might not even be enough to save PGG. Hani gets a crit. There's that Lincoln's coming in handy. Absorbs the Laguna Blade, and they walk away from that pretty much scot-free, and they burn the Global Silence. M5 commit a lot for that and get next to nothing. Blow your brain. Oh, his positioning hasn't improved much since that first blood as he gets caught out way too far forward. And it's a freebie.
Observer ward. He sees them. He just walked into his death there, like AFK right click. Not going to cost him the game, but hella bad play.
So bad you had to bust out the hella.
Yeah, that's the level we're looking at right here.
That one was pretty atrocious. But
they force staff
Force staff after force staff, but he'll get hexed up, and now they'll go in on him. Silencer goes down. M5, they're just falling apart at the seams. It's just solo pickoff after solo pickoff. Now they'll lose a tier 2 tower in the mid, and looking at buyback, Silencer doesn't have it, nor does the Necrophos. This is a 5v3 in the field for at least 20 seconds. Glyph is available, but they can shoot through these towers pretty damn quick with this liquid fire. Razor's not even here. He's just farming the bottom lane. Tron, he's got a TP scroll, but I guess figuring there's not a hell of a lot he can do. What's the plan here, M5?
I don't know, man. If S4 is the son of Magnus, then Rise must be the grandson, because in this situation, he's just playing out of his mind. That force staff offensively on the Silencer and immediately blink skewering back, and then of course they had the Hex to follow. Like, there's no way to get out of that, and it's just pristine knowledge of positioning that is going to put them in a position to just take all of Moscow5 down. They take down heroes, they take down towers. Man, Arise MVP 3 times over. Like, he could be, I won't say he could be 1v5ing, but he is definitely pulling his weight and then some here.
Yeah, and just imagine, he almost didn't get to play in this game. He was disconnected for an extended period. They had a stand-in ready to go, and he was able to reconnect basically right as the draft finished up. So, good news for Fnatic, as Arise does seem to be a pretty core member of their arsenal. He will be looking for a refresher, has the Oblivion staff, and not too far away from it, has more than enough for the Perseverance, so less than a recipe away. Other item progression, Necro has a casual vitality booster for now. Lina grabbing the Ghost Scepter to try and survive a bit longer. There's a Blink Dagger on the Razor, which is an interesting choice. Don't see that too often, but Tron looking for some positioning tools. The side of Fnatic, they get a lot of new toys to play around with. You got the Yule's Scepter on the Darkseer. We've talked about Magnus with his refresher, but the big one is Hani. After that Lincoln Sphere, he's now been able to pick up that Abyssal Blade. So not only is he a lot more tanky, but now he hits damn hard.
Yeah. So one thing to mention is that Moscow5 are out of smokes for 4 minutes, and with the great observer wards that have been spread across the map by Fnatic, they know exactly what Moscow5 are up to. They saw the movement up to the top lane, just training along as 4 or 5, and they know exactly what they need to do to respond to it. And it's going to be pushing out the bottom lane, spread the map a little bit here, and have, at worst, you take a confrontation at your tier 2 tower. For now, as the Macro Pyre clears out the entire creep wave, the next one's going to take a while to get there, and in the meantime, they're pushing in bottom.
Yeah, that sniper rifle of a Macro Pyre. There is a Radiant Glyph here, but Rasta wards come down, and they'll be able to do at least half damage to this tower. TP's coming in from Moscow5.
TP got canceled. Necro can't fight here.
Oh, no. They also don't have the Jakiro with them, so there's a 4v4 down in the bottom lane. Hani in the front lines goes in onto Lina. Will just chop her down with the BKB on. Lina actually buys back for this, and Fnatic will just disengage.
Ah, man, that's got to feel really good for Hani right there. That's cathartic as can be. The amount of pain this Lina has caused him, just being able to just go sock it right to her, knowing there's nothing she can do in return. That is very good feeling right there. But it is down to 5-second BKB. Just forced the buyback on the Lina, and they weren't able to go for the full invasion as BYB trots his way down to his base.
They also forced out the Glyph on top of that. So now Lina has no buyback. They get a free kill. The Glyph is on cooldown, and they get to move into the Roche uncontested with Aegis and Shees. So now Fnatic are just in a great position to end this game pretty much as soon as the Rasta wards come up. They'll wait about 50 seconds and then look to move towards the base. And even Rasta, he's 500 golds away from an Aghanim Scepter. So this pushing prowess that they have will get even more powerful coming up in the next few moments here. Hani critting for 1,700. Oh, God. There's your refresher orb, so double RP, even a BKB on the Jakiro. Fnatic really have pretty much everything they could desire, less that of the Aghanim Scepter, which is soon to come.
Yeah, and there's Cheese and Magnus, so he doesn't have to even worry about mana issues with this first combo of Reverse Polarity. So he can throw out all his spells, Skewer twice, RP twice, still be in a great spot with that Cheese. We'll see Vigas potentially caught out, will have the ability to Force Staff across, and he does do so. Luckily, the Nighttime Fog of War means he's going to be safe, and Lina is going to be the only one picked off. But we talked about this, she's the one that bought back. And if she goes down here, she's not going to be in the next fight at all. So not a good commitment of that Global Silence, but the fight will break out. Ani dropping fast.
Yep, this time the Linkers will be broken, but he has the Aghanim Scepter. Ace gets stunned up as Hani just barely survives. They'll lose their Jakiro. He's down for 100 seconds, and the Global, which seemed a little hasty at first, does actually work out pretty well for Moscow5. Now come with me on the run. We'll try to surge to safety. He'll be able to make it from the Wrath of the Razor, arrives with an invisibility rune soon to expire, looking for a potential opening, but won't find it, and just heads back to safety. So just a solo pick off. The Lina barely survives, but a very close call for the King R, who has no buyback available. And if she had died without buyback, Fnatic probably could have just done that pretty easily in terms of moving towards the base. So Jakiro up in 60 seconds. There'll still be a big window here before the glyph comes up, 2.5 minutes on that. And there's your Shadow Shaman Aghanim Scepter. So still a big window for Fnatic. They didn't use the Cheese nor the Aegis in that last fight.
Yeah, right here, like, honestly, it was the Yule Scepter usage against Lina that actually set them in a position for the perfectly timed counter initiation. So they do use the Global Silence very efficiently there. They respond. They get that important savior. And, yeah, it's going to buy them a little bit of time, but it still doesn't change the state of affairs. That add the Aghanim Scepters and everything else that they've been able to accumulate to this point, Fnatic are looking damn good, and it's just going to take one fight to prove it. Right now, Mask Madness is going to give him a nice burst of movement speed, but can he close the distance onto Tron here? Yes. Yes, he can.
And the Abyssal Blade comes down. They'll even burn a solo RP onto Tron. They'll skewer him a very short distance, and Hani just gets a couple crits, and nothing the Razor can do. Oh, poor baby, all by his lonesome, and will take a fall.
So they continue to drop down Observer Wards here. We've got a couple on Rise, and if he drops those down in the right place, then they still have complete suppression of the base, even if they choose to back off anytime soon. But for now, up top lane, come with me with the very clutch Blink, but still getting hit by the Reaper's Scythe. It won't deliver the killing blow, but it sets them up for a chain of kills, stuns right here, which should bring him down.
Yeah, Vacuum back in, forces the BKB from Blow Your Brain. He will commit forward, and Ogre secures the kill. But meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Fnatic grouping up, ready to push. There are TPs on all of the Radiant heroes, and they'll be able to make it back to the base, but still no glyph. They should lose this Tier 3 tower. Roster wards are committed. Remember, these are upgraded wards, so they do a lot. Arise blinks in. Global Silence flies through. Ace uses his BKB, coming in with that sniper rifle of fire at the ready. Macro Pyre comes in. Huge wall vacuum from Come With Me, sets it up. A lot of low health heroes on M5. Hani, the trash collector, comes out to clean it up. Their barracks have fallen. Ace with a skewer RP pulls them out of the well, and they just get completely wrecked. Fnatic with all 5 still alive, 3 stuck in the grave from M5. The buyback on Silencer has already been used. They don't have any others to spare. Now they'll just go straight mid, and this is looking like it could be the end of Moscow5 as Fnatic move into the mid lane of barracks here, Blaze.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do against this? Without having the Refresher Orb on Vigos, I just don't see it. He's actually going for a Hex, it looks like, so he wouldn't have even found it anytime soon. And without double globals, they just don't have anything. They tried some cheeky stuff. They got like a Blink Dagger on Razor and the Blink Dagger on Necrophos that I mentioned earlier, but, you know, the initiation from that Magnus is just too damn good. And in the end, the fact they didn't have any control over any of the Roche fights, and that was pretty much free for the side of Fnatic, and the fact that they drafted this really solid strategy that worked out 100%, it really just goes to show what Fnatic can do when they're all on the same page.
Most definitely. Hani 14-1 and 15, getting himself a lot of fantasy points there, and just, well, a pretty dominant performance on the PA. No other real way to say it. It was an interesting draft from N5, and I think the draft itself could have worked a lot better, but they had a lot more positioning problems than anything else. We saw the Necro just getting picked off time after time. A lot of solo pickoffs that really shouldn't have happened. So, seemed like more just a positioning problem than anything else for the side of Moscow5, honestly.
Yeah, but in the end, it's going to be Moscow 5 to go down, and they are racking up the losses, unfortunately, here very early in the Summit Europe. I'm not sure the exact standing right now, maybe you have that on hand, but they have a lot of ground to make up if they have any chance at pulling into the top four there.
Yep. So that wraps up our coverage today, guys. Just one match. I'm Zyori, he's Blaze. Thank you for joining us. You can follow us both on Twitter at ZyoriTV, at BlazeCasting, and at Beyond the Summit. I'm going to be done EU for a little while. LD's taking the helm, and I'm switching over to China. So there will be plenty more Star Ladder. Summit 2 EU. The LAN finals are right around the corner, so I've got Star Ladder on my mind. But Summit EU will continue on by G2A.com in the days to come. LD will be taking over, and I'm switching to China. So enjoy, guys. Plenty big matches on the horizon.